and welcome to the Thrive Movement Community Guide series. I am Beth Myers, and I am your host for the April edition of the Thrive Movement Guide. And I have a friend, Kim O'Neill, who is going to tell us a little bit about herself in just a minute. I wanted to let you know about the Thrive Movement. It is a movement that is helping to create opportunities for people to be able to live in the moment, enjoy, and to move through life in a different way besides just trying to survive each and every day and really not enjoying the moments. So by doing the Thrive Community Guide interview series, it's to help introduce you to new people that you might not know and find out a little bit about the way that they can help people thrive in a particular area of life. And in April, we are focusing on careers. So Kim is going to tell us a little bit about how she is a personal empowerment coach and her niche in helping in the area of careers. So welcome, Kim. So glad you're here today.
Thank you, Beth. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for asking me to join you in your Thrive movement.
You're very welcome. So tell us a little bit about your empowerment coaching and what led you into the coaching field with your style of coaching that you share with people.
Well, it's interesting. It really goes back to when I was younger. And when I was a kid, I saw myself being a psychologist, and then that sort of morphed into different career paths that eventually led to coaching. I was in this space. I had already completed my bachelor's degree and I wanted to do something more. And as I was researching master's degrees and various things were happening in my life at that time and not really falling into place. And so coaching had popped up a few times. And I thought, it's a new industry. Not many people knew about it at the time. And people are still learning about it. But back then, there was really a lack of understanding about it. So I had done a lot of research and realized that coaching really comes from a wellness perspective of wanting to focus on, what we all have within ourselves to get where we want to be. And I absolutely loved that. To me, that was just an excellent foundation to really be able to serve people and really grow from that perspective. So that's what led me to coaching specifically. And I was so eager. I was so eager to start once I realized, okay, coaching is really where it's at for me. And so I started with interview coaching, helping people prepare for employment interviews, because that was something that I'd had a lot of experience with from all various aspects of it. So from being the person applying and interviewing for a job myself, to being a person who's actually doing the interviews and interviewing job applicants, to also being that person who's sort of like a middleman in the process, and you have applicants coming in and they're, maybe sitting in the waiting room, or maybe I'm the person that takes the phone calls, that I review their resumes, that I, all those little steps that are in between. I've been that person a few times in my life as well. And getting to see all the questions that come up and where, there's maybe a gap in understanding of just how that process goes. So all of that combined, that led me to really start out with interview coaching. And I really loved that because it was great to be able to see people gain a deeper understanding of the process, but also about themselves, and really start to understand what their strengths are and what they have to offer an employer. And what I also came to know, and I sort of knew this going into coaching, but what I really came to see is that a lot of people, they don't take time to prepare for an employment interview. And so by having me there as a coach to help with that really helped people gain clarity on who they are, what they had to offer, this story of where they've been, what they've learned, what they've accomplished, and how they've grown over time, and how all that matches what their future employer is looking for. So through all that, I really learned that, okay, this bottles down to confidence and really understanding who we are as individuals, who the clients were. So I moved into personal empowerment coaching after that. And that's where we get to go deeper. We get to really go deeper into, yes, who are you? And, I really feel that every single person is amazing. We all we all have so many gifts to offer the world, but a lot of times we don't know that about ourselves, or maybe we do, but we don't claim it. We don't own it. And so through coaching, I'm able to help people really start to step into that and own it and accept it and know that it's okay. It's not an ego thing. It's about you knowing who you are, and it just helps clear away any blocks that might be standing in our pathway to where we want to go next. And every time someone stands in their power, it's empowering for other people as well. So in their life. So it sort of has this ripple effect, and that's what I do, and that's how I came, into this journey.
I love it. And your energy that you bring just to your everyday interactions with people, Kim, is just contagious. And that, what you talked about with the ripple effect, with people bringing that energy with their gifts and their passion into what they do every day, it's creating that in our world, one person at a time. And by you helping as a coach to help that person stand in their own power, it's just a great gift that as a coach, you're able to help hold that space for someone, but for them to be able to bring it forth. And it starts with, your enthusiasm that you hold for that person. And I just feel that every time I talk with you.
Oh, thank you, Beth. I think you said it excellently too about holding that space for the clients. It can be so easy for us to doubt ourselves. We may, like I said earlier, we may know what our strengths are, but there's some sort of block or resistance to accepting it. And so what a coach is able to do is really hold that space and say, no, let's sit with this for a little bit and let's go deeper with it and see that it's not necessarily a dark, scary place. Owning our power doesn't take anything away from anybody else.
Let me ask you another question. What is it that you like best about assisting people on this journey to embrace their gifts that they can bring forth in the workplace?
What I really love is I love when someone fully embraces their gifts. They fully embrace how amazing they are. I mean, I know I've said that a few times already, but just that moment when it finally starts to sink in and they start to live from that place. There's a difference between coming from a place of lack or self-doubt, thinking we're not good enough, as opposed to coming from a place of, no, I am good enough. You know what? I was hired for a reason, or I was asked to come to this job interview for a reason. And I'm here on this planet just alive for a reason. I bring something to the world, to everyone I come into contact with. And so when we up level, where we're coming from, what's our starting place, our point of attraction, when we look at, energy, then that's going to give back to us something that mirrors what we started with. So if we start with lack, we're going to get more lack. If we start from a place of empowerment and owning who we are, then we're going to get, more opportunities and experiences that also mirror back to us what we bring to the world. And, again, just have that ripple effect and magnify what we bring in a bigger, better way for everyone else to benefit from as well.
I love it. It encapsulates what is so important for people on this planet, is to really embrace and own that power and come from that place of abundance, and knowing that that's their birthright.
Absolutely. It really is. And, to some degree, I think everything in life serves a purpose. And so I think that even if we've lived the first half of our lives with, a sense of doubt, not feeling good enough, that served a purpose too. Maybe we had to go through that for a certain amount of time to really start to understand what that looks like. And then when we're ready, we can choose to flip the switch and say, you know what? I'm tired of living from that space. I'm ready to be able to stand in my power and live the best life that I can. And what does that require of me? Well, it requires me to maybe, change my mindset on some things, to just start to accept that, yes, I am good. I maybe don't need to hear 10 more people tell me I'm good at something to finally accept it about myself. I could just accept it and say, yeah, I am.
I am good enough. I am brave enough. I have this courage that has helped me step in to a new role. That's a very different role, maybe, because I'm transitioning the type of work that I'm doing. Have you found that there's a lot of people that you've worked with that are really like switching from one type of career and moving into another? Or have you helped more people that go from, like say in the business world to another type of, sales position, marketing position in that business world? Or where people have totally shifted into something very different for them?
My interview coaching clients have really, they've ran the gamut, the gamut. What's the phrase there? Run the gamut. I've seen different types. People who are just moving into an entry-level position, people who are moving into something that's maybe in public safety, law enforcement, fire safety, people who are moving into managerial positions, director positions. It's usually tends to be some sort of progression from where they've come from to, what they want to do next. At any time in life when we want to move into any career, we can. Anything is possible. The trick is to find a way to bridge what you already have to offer and how does it connect to that next job. So you can do that with what you currently have. If it feels like there's a wider gap between where you're starting from and where you want to be, we can always start with volunteer experience. That's something that I had started with a few years ago when I wasn't doing work that was related to coaching at all. And I'd been hearing people say, we'll start with just volunteering, doing something for free and go from there. And I had resisted that for a long time. And finally, I couldn't resist it anymore. I said, you know what? I need to be of service. I need to help in a certain way that is calling me. And so I started with mentoring youth. And that started to be a bridge to getting me towards coaching. And then I eventually moved into energy work and doing Reiki and things of that sort as well. So it's interesting how when we just make one decision, it opens the doors to the next and the next. So my clients have really, it's been a range in terms of where they're starting and where they want to go. But to me, nothing is off limits ever. So anything anyone wants to do, you can do it. It's just a matter of choosing, figuring out how you're going to do it and setting the intention that you will.
I love that too, because it just is such an important message for all of us to embrace. And the fact that you mentor youth, what a great message for kids who are trying to decide, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? We're all growing and changing the way I look at it. So we're always growing up into the next, like you said, up leveling to the next area that we want to be. But tell me a little bit about your work with youth and how you have assisted in mentoring youth to make some decisions about where they want to go next in their life.
It's so timely that you're asking this because just yesterday, so I'm a mentor through an organization, and every year they have an annual career fair where they gather people from different professions within the local area. And, they put together some sort of event where the youth get to learn from the people in those professions and what it took to get there. And yesterday's event was amazing. They did it a little differently. And we really got to, the mentors and the mentees got to hear the stories of people's lives, where they've been, what they've gone through, and really get some insight to what are all those little things that happened from, I was in high school here, and then I had some family things happen, and then, these other challenges happened, and that landed me over here, but I was trying to go to college at the same time. And then, I chose this career path, but then my first few jobs, I didn't get paid anything. And, all the story, and it's all those little nuggets in between that really start to paint the picture and help each of us. I mean, even the mentors, even me, even though I've been coaching, it's so good to hear people's stories and know that there's not really anything where it's ever just like, oh, I went from here to here in an instant. There's a lot of little things that happen in between. And so one of the things that came out of yesterday that was most useful to a lot of the youth was that it's okay to not necessarily know what you want to do right now. It's okay to try a bunch of things. You don't have to rush. And those are things that I also share with my mentee. Now, on the other side, though, we also focus on let's explore. And, I continue to check in with her and see, what's interesting you now. At one point, she was really focused on going to a college. My current mentee I'm speaking about. At one point, she was really focused on going to a college on the East Coast. And we talked a lot about that. And just yesterday, she shared, well, now I'm thinking of being, closer and staying on the West Coast somewhere. So it's like, okay, well then, so let's talk about that. And so the thing is, what I really like to do is I like to let her know that it's okay to be wherever she is. Wherever she is right now, that's okay. And I feel like in mentoring, there's always sort of maybe a line that I'm balancing, because you don't want to go too far, but you don't want to not go enough either. You're there to help and be a support. So a lot of it comes down to just being there, but there will be these moments that pop up where all of a sudden you go, aha, this is the moment, let me help her with some of that. And just get her to start to think a little more broadly. And because a lot of times we don't know what questions we have until someone else maybe gives us some more information. And then we realize, oh, that's right. Oh yeah. Well, how do I feel about class size? Or how do I feel about, the distance home and choosing like a college, and just all these different little things that help us start to gain clarity on whatever our current situation is. So I hope that answers your question in one way in terms of how I am with my current mentee. And it also, it shows up in other conversations with other mentees when we're at these events and stuff. So it's something I've enjoyed mentoring a lot.
I can tell you just bring a great enthusiasm and energy, and they are so lucky to have you being service in that volunteer capacity, to you bring your heart and your soul into, and your experience with coaching into that, and how you've grown and developed in your skills as you started as a mentor. And basically kind of deciding, is that where I want to go with the coaching piece and helping people? And now it's kind of coming full circle where you're able to continue to learn and give back with the youth that you mentioned. So that's fabulous. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. It's a privilege. It's so true that, it's one of those experiences where you go into it thinking you want to help, and then you realize, oh, my mentee, she's helping me. So, that's a lot.
It's a cool benefit, isn't it? And sharing your gifts with one another. You learn from her and she shares her gifts with you, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I really liked how you talked about listening to speakers at the career fair example that you were giving, all about story, because each of us has our own story and the experiences that we bring. That's our past, and then also our present. But then you talked about working with that future self. And tell me a little bit more about how you combine the past, the present, and the future in working with your clients related to their career.
That's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind, the very first article I wrote was on looking at the past, the present, and the future when I'm preparing for a job interview. So great question. The way that it works is, to me, it's all about going back to what you enjoy doing. What are your passions? What were those pivotal moments in your, whether in your personal life, in your job at work, in your career, maybe when you were going to school, what were some challenges that you had to go through, and how did you go through them, resolve the situation and come out on the other side, whatever that looks like. So I have them take a look at, let's look at the past. Let's talk about what job positions that you've had, what experiences you've had, and what are those nuggets? What was learned? What did we gain? To me, every single experience in life has a gift, and that's either the lesson that we gained, or it could be something that is like, maybe you received a new opportunity or something. But really anything we ever learn, and we can learn from everything, is a gift. So we kind of mine for that information, and then we look at the present. Where are they right now? What opportunities are available to them right now? How can they use what they've learned in the present? And then again, going back to, what are their interests? What are their passions? Where have they seen themselves moving towards in the future? And how can we start to pre-pave the pathway to that now with what they currently have? So that's where some of the energy work might come in, and doing things, like guided visualization, really connecting with the energy of what it is they see themselves in the future and bringing it into the present. And so this is a great question, Beth. I love that you asked this.
I'm glad. It struck me, and it was talking about the stories. It was like, that all goes together, because our stories are made up of our past. And then how do we bring that to the present and then bring it forward? So that's really neat. You wrote an article about that.
Well, what I find so interesting too is a lot of time we don't take time to reflect on our own story. And that's, for me, I love hearing other people's stories. So it was so great just to hear these other people share their stories. But also, that's what's so great about coaching, is because we're able to help people sort of, take the story out, let's separate. We can be so enmeshed in our own story that we don't really see the progression of things. And so that's what coaching can help us do, is really start to extract that and summarize it and see it from a different perspective. And then we can also start to see how things actually go together. We think there might just be all these random pieces of our lives, and there's a line that's connecting these things. And when we can start to do that and see our own story from a different perspective, we can reduce our anxiety about, I'm not where I want to be yet, or I'm never going to get, to this, I'm never going to accomplish this thing. Hold on, you're on that path. Your trajectory, you're headed right there. And here, we can look at the past and see that. But then now let's look at the future and really start to add more energy towards that, because that's where you're going. So it's all connected.
It really is. And that's that outside perspective, like you said, from a coach who can help guide that journey. They're on that journey. It's their story. But having a guide really to help on that journey. And that's what thriving is all about, is being able to not just settle for what the experience is and looking at it kind of one-dimensional. It's being able to look at it more in 3D or 4D by looking at all the different ways that it has progressed through different parts of times of our lives. And so thank you for sharing that. That was a really good way and perspective to look at the journey in your career and what your passions are, and combining all of that together.
When we're doing what we're actually passionate about and what we enjoy doing, we're more likely to be more successful and actually, obviously have more life satisfaction as well. And I think a lot of times we sometimes discount that as if, well, no, I need to focus on other things. I need to focus on, the money and certain things. And those certainly have a place that are important. But when we can find a way to include the money in with what you're passionate about and see that that's just as viable and valid, and let's just, it's okay to focus on that. So yeah, to me, it's all about making sure that this is a life you enjoyed living. And we spend a lot of time in our careers. I think it's important to actually enjoy what you do.
Yes, definitely. And I just know from talking with you and getting to meet you in person, that's a passion that you bring to your interactions with people, listening to your interviews, seeing your interviews, that you bring that passion of people and loving to learn their stories. So tell me a little bit about how you got into the interviews, the radio interviews, and doing your series that you have for it's on YouTube, right?
It is on YouTube, yes. So it's called Every Day is a New Day. And it's so interesting. It's not something I actually saw coming, at least not in the form that it's taken. So again, it goes back to when I was younger. I saw myself, I was like, I want to help a lot of people. I want to be able to reach a lot of people. And as I was, I decided I wanted to definitely have coach training. And so as I was going through my own coach training, there was this one session that I had with a coach that I was paired up with. And it was the beginning of 2015. So it was actually February 2015. And we were just really sort of planning out the year. And she had said, okay, well, what do you want to accomplish by December 31st of 2015? And, here we were in February. And I said, by the end of the year, I want to have done at least one interview. Okay, that's how I said it. And in my mind, though, what I was thinking was, well, I want to be a guest on at least one radio interview. That's what I was thinking. But I said, I want to do at least one interview. Okay, literally a month later, an opportunity came my way to have my own show.
You put it out there and the universe brings it to you.
Exactly. And so immediately I was like, oh my goodness, this is, this isn't what I was, that's not quite what I had in mind, but I also knew that I had manifested that. And I could see the alignment with the fact that I did want to be able to reach more, I do want to be able to reach more and more people. And I thought, wow, okay, I thought I was dreaming big with one interview by the end of the year. And the universe clearly dreamt a lot bigger for me in, being able to host my own show where I get to interview multiple people throughout the year. So I immediately said yes to that. And the first show that I had was born from that opportunity. And it's been about 2 years ago since I started that first show. And then as you know, I just recently transitioned and started a new show on a new network. And so that's really how it came about. And it's interesting because it's just, I realized that it was filled with all these other opportunities to help me continue to stand in my power and be able to learn more things that I needed to learn as well, so that I could continue to reach more people and be of service in a bigger way like I wanted to. So it's a fantastic opportunity. I'm enjoying it a lot, and I'm really just kind of riding the wave, seeing where it goes, and enjoying my new show as well. And that's what's come of it.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing about your show. And I like what you said about riding the waves and enjoying it. So often we go through the movements, but we really don't pull in that joy and experience that joy in the moment of doing and learning those new things. And you model that and do that really well, that others, myself included, are like, wow, I want to be able to do that too. And here we are.
Beth, I think you do a fantastic job hosting shows and doing your interviews. And I just need to add that for the first I mean that sincerely. The first 7 or 8 months of my radio show weren't as stressless and enjoyable. They had moments of me enjoying it, but I was like a stress case. I mean, every month for the first several months there, and it's just a monthly show, one show a month. That was like having me, oh my gosh. And I would put all this energy into preparing for it and all these, thinking about this and that and securing guests and all of the work that goes into it. And finally, when I realized, okay, this is supposed to be fun. I don't need to stress out about this every month. If that's the case, then why am I doing it? And so I literally asked myself that question. I said, okay, come on, you know how to work around this. I said, okay, what would make this more fun? And all of a sudden, ideas started coming into my mind. And I was like, oh, okay, now I have some breathing room. And I put that into action. I was able to streamline things and allow it to be more fun. And so that's where I'm at now. And it is a lot more enjoyable. It's still some work, but I enjoy it and it's easier. So.
Well, and anytime we start doing something new, it's different. Our brain and our ego start to respond in a way like, oh my goodness, what's happening? It's different. And that's a normal and a natural response. And when we can get past that and then do what you just did with asking that very self-reflective question to be able to help you recognize that it is supposed to be fun. And if it's not really fun and it's really not what you want to be doing, then you can take a different path. We always have that choice. It always goes back to we have choices that we can make. And life is meant to be fun. And to thrive in life is to embrace the magic, the messiness, the fun, the excitement, and also the learning opportunities, as you were speaking about earlier. So thank you for sharing about your own experience with your radio show.
Oh, thank you, Beth. And the messiness that I love that you just said that. I think that's my newest thing these days that I'm working on with myself. I'm just going to embrace where it feels like there's a mess. Yeah. It's okay. We're still going to live and find enjoyment and move through it. It's okay.
Yeah. It's being gentle with ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Kim, how can people get in touch with you if they would like to learn more, would like your assistance as a coach, or like to get in touch with you to listen to your radio shows? What are the best ways for them to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So there are a variety of ways. I would say the easiest one is probably you can email me at kimoneil@outlook.com. So that's KIMONEILL@outlook.com. Or they can call me at 562-273-2546. And of course, my website is kimoneilcoaching.com. And again, O'Neill, ONEILL. So any one of those ways, you can find me on social media, and all my links are on the contact page on my website. And I do have a free guided meditation for anyone who wants to just take a moment right now, no obligation, and just go download a free meditation to soothe and really connect their their higher self to their physical self, and feel more grounded, calmer in the present moment, as well as I have a free downloadable affirmation coloring page that I love and have available for anyone who wants to really just connect with their own creativity and get back into the flow of whatever's going on for them. So there's a link for that as well on my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Kim. And I so appreciate you being here on the April Thrive Movement Community Guides interview series with me. And again, I appreciate your time, your energy, and all the work, which is really fun. It's play that you do in this world to mentor and help empower others through your work that you do.
Thank you, Beth. Well, I love what you're doing here as well. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. So thank you for allowing me to be part of your Thrive movement.
You're very welcome. And we're going to sign off for today. This is Beth Myers. I am a Law of Attraction empowerment coach, mentor, and speaker, and the owner of Arrival Coaching. And if you'd like to learn more about the Thrive movement and some resources, you can go to www.arrivalcoaching.com or email me at beth@arrivalcoaching.com. So thank you so much for watching. And Kim, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Beth.
Bye.
Bye.